It wasn't him. Somebody at a lower level, mid-level, we found out pretty much. But they made a statement that our soldiers brought it into China. No, it came from China. And, we just signed a very big deal with China. They're paying us a lot of money in tariffs and other things. They never paid us 10 cents. Look, China has taken advantage of the United States until I came here with Sleepy Joe Biden and Obama and Bush and everybody else. I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming everybody. They were allowed to $500 billion a year they were taking out. We had trade deficits that were so large, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we've changed it. Look, now we're taking in billions of dollars, and we gave some to our farmers because China, they targeted our farmers, and our farmers are very happy, and our farmers got through a very rough period because of what I was able to do.
President Trump and the coronavirus task force providing an update on the current status of COVID-19. Today, the president said he spoke with world leaders about efforts to combat the virus. Some of the things he touched on was, of course, the stimulus package that was passed by the Senate last night. We're going to continue streaming this news conference online at KSAT.com.
We do want to get to the latest news, though. We have news from here in Texas.
First at 5, Governor Greg Abbott issuing another executive order today requiring anyone flying into Texas from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, or New Orleans to self-quarantine for 14 days.
And there's a reason for it. Right now, the New York tri-state area is considered the United States epicenter for COVID-19. Under the new order, those who are flying into Texas airports from those 3 states or the city of New Orleans are now required to inform the Department of Public Safety where they will be self-quarantined. Governor Abbott says they will be required to fill out a form designating their quarantine location, where officers from the Department of Public Safety will then be conducting visits.
During the 14-day period, the only time a person can leave is to see a doctor or a medical professional. They are not allowed to visit public spaces or have visitors. Anyone who does not comply may face jail time or a fine. This is just the latest effort to stop the spread of COVID-19 in the state of Texas. By the way, as of today, more than 21,000 people have been tested across the state. Of those tests, a little more than 1,400 results have been positive. Those cases spread across 90 counties now in Texas, including Bexar, Comal, Kendall, Medina, Wilson, and Guadalupe counties. More than a dozen deaths have also been reported.
It's dramatic, worse than the Great Recession. That's the situation San Antonio is facing with both unemployment and its own operating budget as COVID-19 pandemic continues to unfurl here.
Yeah, City Council met early to formally extend the mayor's stay-home, work-safe order to April 9th. Garrett Berger was at the meeting where top city staff laid out a bleak picture of what the economic cost of this pandemic may be. Garrett.
Well, from what we've seen, as city council members considered what was essentially a formality vote, they were also confronted with what is shaping up to be a very dark economic picture. Now, in a presentation to the council members, city staff revealed we could be facing the worst unemployment rate in years. With many people in the bar and restaurant and hospitality industry, they're reeling due to government restrictions. City staff say the projected unemployment rate in San Antonio for March is 12 to 14%. At the peak of the Great Recession, San Antonio had a 10% unemployment rate. The mayor said he knows life has been turned upside down for many people.
That's why these issues are so difficult, and the decisions that we make are difficult and have tremendous weight behind them. We don't take them lightly. We are with you, and we're going to help you get back on your feet. But the most important thing we can do together right now is to make sure that we save each other's lives. That's why we're doing this.
Decrease of 17%.
Estimating a $110 to $158 million hole in this year's nearly $2 billion operating budget. They're anticipating big shortfalls as airport traffic is down 90% as of earlier this week. Hotels are closing amid reports of occupancy rates under 10% and dozens of canceled or postponed events at the Alamo Dome and Convention Center, not to mention an anticipated drop in sales tax revenue. Now, when we'll get through this and what it will look like on the other side, yet to be seen. The city manager telling reporters today that we still don't know what quarter of the game we're in, and we still don't have a playbook. Live downtown, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Garrett. The pandemic having an impact on the way criminal cases are being handled at the courthouse. Since there are no juries, only hearings are On what they are calling essential cases. These are cases in which the defendant is already in jail.
We want to move those cases through. We want to filter them to where they either result in a case being disposed of, either through a plea or a dismissal or whatever the circumstance may be.
Judge Rangel said that they are averaging about 5 cases an hour. His order allows misdemeanor cases to be conducted remotely.
3 weeks of paid time off. It's what workers at the Toyota plant on the south side can expect, at least for now. Toyota announcing today production at all of its plants will remain suspended until April 17th. Production expected to resume April 20th. Toyota is asking employees to take 1 week of personal time off during the break. The shutdown in anticipation of low demand due to the coronavirus outbreak.
The number is staggering. In 1 week, new jobless claims have reached 3.28 million. That new figure from the Labor Department underscoring how significantly the U.S. economy has been impacted due to the coronavirus. And now Americans want to know, will that massive stimulus plan help? And when will workers begin to see some relief? Camilla Bernal has the latest. Camilla.
Hey, Ursula, yes, this massive stimulus package is going to bring some relief. And yes, workers are going to begin to get those checks, hopefully within 3 weeks, according to the Treasury. But that is not going to be enough. That is what many are saying. So Congress is going to have to keep on working as this virus continues to spread.
An ominous sign for the U.S. economy Thursday. 3.28 million new jobless claims were filed in a single week. A sign of the massive strain that the coronavirus has taken in nearly every business sector.
The nays are 0.
But while you were sleeping,
60 vote threshold
the Senate
been achieved,
making history.
The bill is passed.
I'm proud to announce tonight not a single senator voted against this $2 trillion rescue bill.
Passing a record-breaking stimulus plan aimed at helping American workers and businesses impacted by the coronavirus. The package includes cash directly to American families depending on their income, up to $1,200 to individuals, $2,400 to couples, and $500 per child. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin says he hopes checks will start going out in 3 weeks. But experts say it could take longer. Other elements of the plan include suspending student loan payments, protections against foreclosures, and money for the airline and travel industries. The bill now goes to the House, where it's expected to pass on Friday. Speaker Nancy Pelosi touting the bill, but this package is just the beginning.
I want more, this was a big, strong step.
With the death toll and confirmed cases continuing to rise, getting healthcare workers the resources they need will be a top priority for lawmakers going forward.
And how long will this shutdown last? That is, of course, a question that many are asking, and the answer to that is still unclear. But the president today did send a letter to the governors around the country saying he wants to revise his social distancing guidelines. Now, it is likely that he is going to look at the geographical areas. We're going to look at counties that have more cases and counties that have less cases, and likely that is going to happen on a case-by-case scenario. But remember, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the doctor that has been essentially leading this fight against the coronavirus at the White House, says that at the end of the day, it is the virus that's going to define the timeline. Ursula?
Thank you, Camila Bernal, reporting live from Washington.
Back here at home, the city of San Antonio now has a self-screening tool for COVID-19 on its website. We showed it to you last night on the Night Beat. It's not intended to be used for medical advice. Rather, it's more of a guide on what your next step should be if you are sick and believe you may have been exposed to COVID-19. The test asks a total of 10 questions, beginning with your zip code. It asks if you have a temperature of 99.6 or higher. Do you have a cough, difficulty breathing, body aches? Have you traveled in the last 2 weeks? Do you have chronic health conditions like diabetes, blood pressure, lung or heart disease? Are you 65 or older? Have you tested positive for the flu or other respiratory viruses in the last 2 weeks? And have you had close contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19? Based on your answers, you'll be guided on whether or not you should actually be tested for COVID-19. Again, if you are sick and were exposed to the virus, you should contact your doctor immediately.
Under the stay-home rules, you are allowed to go to the grocery stores. So how can you accomplish shopping for your food and your necessities and still minimize your risk of picking up the virus? 12 on your side's Marilyn Morris takes a look at safe practices at the grocery store.
Safe shopping starts here. Clean your cart with disinfecting wipes and take a rubber-tipped pen inside to avoid touching checkout screens. To prevent usual crowds like this, H-E-B is distancing shoppers. Try to stay 6 feet from others. Ideally, medically vulnerable people should have a relative or neighbor shop for them. Several grocers do offer senior hours, but safer still, delivery or curbside pickup. H-E-B is hiring to meet huge demand and offer more time slots.
We are working around the clock to train those folks and get them into stores.
With delivery, avoid direct handoff and let services drop off at your doorstep.
We also ask that if you're coming to pick up curbside, stay in your car.
I used curbside pickup last night and got just about everything I needed, a couple substitutions, and even got lucky. At the last minute, this arrived. Toilet paper. The FDA says there's not evidence to support transmission of the virus from food packaging, but if you're concerned, wipe down cans and jars or store contents in clean containers. After unpacking, wash your hands and sanitize those surfaces. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
And if you have extra time on your hands, now's the perfect opportunity to fill out the 2020 census. You don't even have to leave your house to do it. The Census Bureau has extended the self-response phase until August 14th. You can respond by phone, mail, or online at census.gov. If you aren't familiar with what the census is, we explained it all and how it works on our website right now at KSAT.com.
And while you're there, you can check out some of the other articles that we have available. You can take a look at the number of cases, the number of recoveries, and find helpful information on prevention. You can read about how people around the world are finding creative ways to come together while still social distancing. Just go to ksat.com/coronavirus.
And we're feeling the heat again outside today. Also, a little bit of a haze in the air as well. You can see over the Alamo City, and temperature-wise, we're for the most part right around the 90-degree mark. Take a look at the readings in some of the backyards across South Texas. 85 Del Rio. That's on the cooler side of things because of the clouds. They took a little longer to burn off there. Even Rock Springs at 79. But we're 92 in Divine, 93 Floresville, Schertz at 91, and right at 90 even in Mico in Dean's backyard. So as we go through the evening, pretty uneventful. Just some increasing clouds after midnight. So low clouds to start the day tomorrow. Temperatures down into the mid-70s by 10 p.m. and near 70 at midnight. We'll talk about the cold front that's approaching for Saturday morning and what that's going to do to our weekend coming right up.
Thank you, Adam. Still ahead at 5, a company known for its hair dryers and vacuums getting into the ventilator business. What Dyson calls its newest device and how soon it could help save lives. The vacuum cleaner and hand dryer company Dyson has designed a new ventilator for COVID-19 patients. It's called the Covent, and it took James Dyson just 10 days to build it. The company has actually already started manufacturing 15,000 devices, 10,000 of them ordered by the British government. The other 5,000 will be donated for the international fight against the pandemic. Dyson expects to have the Covents ready by early April.
Maybe these days you're coughing and sneezing, but feel that you could continue to live as usual. In today's climate, do you self-quarantine or do you self-isolate? There's actually a difference.
When an infected person sneezes or coughs, the respiratory droplets can land in the mouths or nose of people within 6 feet of the sick person. This is why people who are infected with coronavirus or a contagious disease should always avoid contact with others as much as possible. Self-isolation is when a sick person separates themselves from others until they are no longer contagious. People who are sick with the coronavirus should self-isolate at home for 14 days. They should also call their doctor and local health department to let them know they are self-isolating. Self-quarantine separates well individuals who have been exposed to a contagious disease to see if they become sick. Mandatory quarantine is required for people who have been in close contact with someone who is tested positive for the coronavirus. So, if you're coughing and sneezing, it's best that you stay home and self-isolate to protect others. And remember, self-isolation and self-quarantine work only as well as a person's willingness to protect others.
And keep in mind, this is very important, allergies could be causing you to sneeze and sniffle and cough at this time of the year. In fact, oak is at its highest level today in years. But get this, allergies do not cause a fever, and that's an indicator.
Sky 12 right now over the Tower of the Americas, and I'm kind of surprised the top of the tower isn't covered with kind of the yellow-green pollens that we've seen out there.
Yeah, give it a few days. The convention center there will look yellow too, right? Just give it some time. Yeah, unfortunately, it's that time of year, and a lot of the oak trees are dropping their catkins right now, making a mess outside. Just comes with the territory around here this time of year. So let's talk about it first. Here's a look at one of our area driveways. Courtesy of Pam and Preston Jones. You can see their big oak just dropped all those catkins, and yeah, it makes a mess, but it's also the time of year where we really just have that jump in oak pollen. And right now, the oak is very high with a count of over 24,000, and that's the highest we've seen it in several years. Mold is moderate at 620, and we've just got a slew of allergens out there, mulberry, pecan, willow, and sycamore included, but they're on the low end. So here we are today, basically just at the typical peak of our oak season. Late March, early April is when we usually peak, and then we start to see the oak pollen really subside and taper off by about the middle part of April. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We also have that haze in the air. I was looking it up. We do have a little bit of smoke in the atmosphere coming in from southern Mexico being pushed our way. I like to hypothesize that it's also oak pollen in the air as well, but I don't know, I can't confirm that. 93 in Castroville, 93 in Devine, Pleasanton's 92. There's some of the warmer locations. New Braunfels, you're 89, and into the hill country, we're mostly in the 80s. Rock Springs stands out at 81 because the low clouds we had this morning basically eroded from the southeast to the northwest, so a little bit cooler where the clouds stuck around longer. But look at this, triple digits in Laredo, 101. Cotulla, a degree shy right now at 99. Not only that, but some humidity in the air as well. So dew points are into the 60s, so we're in the muggy category. Feeling some warmth out there and the mugginess, but it's not going to last forever. We'll still have the humidity around tomorrow, but then dew points really take a dive into Saturday and Sunday. Cold front moves through Saturday morning. Behind it, very pleasant, comfortable, less humid air. And the humidity is going to spike for one day, but another cold front's going to equalize us back out and drop our humidity. So in the long run here, we'll have more comfortable days with the lack of humidity opposed to muggy days. Looking ahead over the next 7. All right, here's our pattern right now. We still have all the moisture aloft being deflected up and around us because of the big upper level high, big blue H. Now it's centered over the Gulf of Mexico. This dip in the upper level flow we've been watching all week. It was over the Pacific Northwest. Now it's right over California. This is going to pass just north of San Antonio tomorrow and into Saturday. And what that's going to do is help push a cold front through town. So we're going to fast forward our future cast right to Saturday morning. That's our next chance of rain. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see much rain to boost the aquifer, relieve the drought, and wash away the oak pollen. We'll have a few showers out there, but all indications are still that we'll just have a little bit of isolated rain, a few isolated showers Saturday morning, and the chance would be up through about the noon hour, and that would be it. Otherwise, looking and feeling good over the weekend. Tomorrow, no chance of rain, just the low clouds in the morning. So a gray start to the day again. I think it's going to be gray through the noon hour, then a little bit of sunshine in the afternoon in mid-80s and humid. Sunny and comfortable right near 80 with low humidity on Saturday. Sunday, pretty much the same story. A few storms could pop up on Monday. And overall, we're not looking at any really high heat anytime soon. A little more seasonable weather on the way.
Thank you so much, Adam.
All right, well, an NFL coach got some good news today, Greg.
And he's in that older bracket, a little younger than me, but a little older than most. And the fact that he has recovered from the coronavirus, very encouraging news. But at the same time, as we're hearing about Sean Payton in New Orleans, we're getting more bad news from the NBA, where a camera operator involved with the Utah Jazz is now in a coma. Coming up.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
Good news, Cowboy fans. As we first told you on the Night Beat last night, the Cowboys are back at the bargaining table with their star quarterback Dak Prescott less than 2 weeks after using the franchise tag on keeping Dak out of free agency. And talks are proceeding that will make Prescott the highest paid player in the NFL. Now, that's according to ESPN, and that's after the Cowboys were forced to use the franchise tag on their quarterback for the first time in franchise history when free agency began. The latest stumbling block appears to be the length of the Cowboys wanting the 5 years, while the Prescott's representatives just 4. As it stands now, the Cowboys would owe Prescott between $31 and $33 million next season if they don't arrive at a new long-term contract by July 15th. So far, according to ESPN, Prescott has yet to sign his franchise tag, which leads you to believe there is renewed optimism the new deal will get done. Meantime, Sean Payton says he has been cleared after testing positive for the coronavirus last week. That's after the New Orleans Saints coach says he hasn't had a fever in the last 8 to 9 days. Speaking on a New Orleans radio station this morning, 56-year-old coach says he felt symptoms on March the 15th and took the test the next day, which was positive. The reason why he went public about his positive test was to encourage other people to learn from his example and heed the warnings of the government and health officials to continue social distancing as not to overwhelm the medical community with new cases. He tells us he's been doing well, has been cleared as of yesterday. While it's great to hear that the Saints head coach is on the mend, the news is not good coming out of the NBA. A camera operator who shot footage inside the Utah Jazz locker room after their March 7th game in Detroit is now in a medically induced coma after being diagnosed with a coronavirus. That's according to Yahoo Sports, who says the man is in his 50s. 2 members of the Jazz tested positive for COVID-19, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. It was Gobert's positive test that led to the entire shutdown of the NBA on March the 12th. The Spurs are supposed to start a 4-game road trip today against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota that was going to include stops in Denver, San Francisco, and Sacramento. Their last long road trip of the regular season. After that, there have been 8 games left of the regular season to see if the Spurs could make the playoffs for the 23rd consecutive year. Now we wait to see when the NBA resumes play, and if so, will there be any regular season games involved? And the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500, has been postponed until August 23rd. That was announced today by officials of the IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway over concerns surrounding the coronavirus for the original Sunday, May 24th date. So that has now been pushed back all the way to August, as in many sporting events.
Yeah, March Madness, the Olympics, now the Indy 500.
Yeah, and unlike March Madness, it's canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
It's a lot. We'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching the News at 5 with us.
The World News is up next. We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. Stay safe.